Wilbur Soot and Dream, the dynamic duo of the hour, the two characters who are on everyone's minds thanks to Wilbur being revived, a duo which most are calling a villain team-up. But hold on a second here, because Wilbur said something the other day which might just have a bit more truth to it than it seems at first.
It was Dream. My hero. My fucking hero. Dream.
So is Dream actually the villain of this story? I know this seems like a stupid question, but I'm telling you, there's a lot more to this than you probably think there is. So let's get straight into whether Dream is actually the hero of the Dream SMP. Also, subscribe! A bunch of my videos did super well this month, but only 2% of people who watch those videos actually subscribed. So if you enjoy the video or the theory or anything in it, please feel free to subscribe and help the video out by liking it. Okay, so let's get back to the topic of the video. The main reason people call Dream a villain is because of his antagonistic role way back at the beginning of the server to L'Manberg, the faction created by the one and only Mr. Soot, and which is widely viewed as the good guys. But how good are they exactly? The reason why I'm asking this is that Wilbur Soot, or to be more specific, revived Wilbur, exposed the mindset, motivation, and ideology with which he created L'Manberg on Tommy's stream the other day.
Look at me for a second. The reason we started L'Manberg and everything here was because we knew, together, me and you, the duo, together we knew that Dream was the villain. He was the one that was holding this server down. He was the dictator.
Yeah.
So you telling me even then you think Dream was the hero?
Tommy, I made an oath of not lying now that I'm alive again. So I'm going to come clean to you with the truth. One thing, I didn't actually really care about L'Manberg. I just cared about sticking it to the man. Actually, I cared about L'Manberg for the sole reason that I could use it to stick it to the man. You ever sticked it to the man, Tommy?
That's not true.
L'Manberg was a tool. It was a great tool. It worked. You know, it divided so many people, man.
Wilbur never cared about L'Manberg. He doesn't even think Dream is the villain of the server. Note his sarcastic agreements when Tommy calls Dream a dictator, and he goes on to kind of explain why. The only reason Wilbur made L'Manberg, the reason he rallied all these people and gave his speeches and united them, he only did that to try and, in his words, stick it to the man. He didn't care about freedom or liberty or independence, at least not for the ideals themselves. He only wanted to stick it to Dream. Wilbur wanted Dream to not have the peace he was trying to achieve simply because Dream was in power. Wilbur wanted to have that sort of power, and so creating L'Manberg so that he would have absolute power over it, convincing everyone that L'Manberg was important and necessary and a way to fight back. That was for his personal benefit, for his power and his power alone.
You could tell you what you could do. You could go down the Wilbur Soot route. You could create something that you believe is worth having power over, and because you want to have power over it, everyone else will believe it's important, even though it's not. And then you get killed by your dad.
He didn't start L'Manberg because Dream was a tyrant, because really, he wasn't. There were, 3 rules? And even those he barely enforced. And it wasn't because Dream wasn't letting him do what he wanted either. No, Wilbur made L'Manberg with solely selfish goals in mind, and the country was, in a way, designed to make Dream attack it. Hell, its entire reason for existing was to try and paint Dream as the villain, to be a thorn in its side, to make everyone call him the bad guy, and to create a weapon of power for Wilbur, and Wilbur alone, to be in charge of. Now let's take a look at Dream's side of the story, his point of view of the L'Manberg War of Independence, which he very neatly explained in this stream with Skeppy from a while ago.
No, they
And
are
you're
dictators.
just
They are
ruining their
dictators.
lives for
They
what?
They are
There's
dictators.
so much land over here. Look on your left, look on your right,
I
look
know.
up, look
And-
down. There's
And listen to me, Skeppy. Listen.
okay.
It is all everything the light touches is our kingdom.
You just want it all, don't you?
No. I don't want any of it. It's fine. Anyone can have anything. Anyone can have all the land.
Oh, awesome. So I can tell them that they are also able to build here and have houses
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. No, they can. They can.
Oh, really?
They know that. They can't tell us that we can't go in their land. That's all we wanted to say. That they're not independent. They are a part of the Dream Team SP. They're just a delusional small part.
Still
Like
think
imagine
it's
somebody.
cool,
imagine
but-
you invited somebody to your house. You said, "Hey, Dream, come in my house." And then I came in your house, and then I said, "You know what? This part over here, this table, it is my house now. It is my house." And you're like, "What?" And then I bring someone else, and they're like, "Just let him have the table. You have the whole. Look at how much of the rest of the house you have. It's this shitty little table." And it's like, no, no, they can't have my table. It's still our table. They can have anywhere they want. They can stay. I graciously let them come in and stay, and they want to try and claim the table for theirs. And so they don't. They can say they can sit at the table. They can sit at the table. They can eat at the table, but they can't have the table. It's not their table.
I know that was a slightly longer clip, I'm sorry about that, but you get the idea. From the start, Dream never had any antagonistic feelings towards L'Manberg. People couldn't make it seem like the problem was land or Dream's personal power being threatened, but that was never the reason at all. L'Manberg declaring independence was the problem in his eyes, and only when the other side made it clear that they wouldn't compromise did he turn to using force instead. Another great example is Dream's involvement in the Disc War. It seems, right, that Dream was inherently villainous in this conflict. I mean, what kind of monster steals someone's most prized possessions for no apparent reason, and then continues to pursue them as leverage? That seems pretty bad guy, right? Well, not really. If you think all the way back to the first disc conflict back in August of 2020, when I had less than 100 subscribers and times were a lot more peaceful, Tommy and Sapnap actively engaged in a conflict with Punk and Alyssa, which Dream mediated, and then, after Tommy killed Dream 2 times unprovoked, stole all his items and refused to give them back. Only after all of that did Dream steal Tommy's discs and try to use them as leverage. Of course, he did continue to use the discs, but only because Tommy actively used them as leverage. Tommy said that peace would never be an option, and therefore, the only thing keeping Tommy in check was Dream's possession and usage of the discs. To put it simply, Wilbur, and by extension the rest of L'Manberg, who parroted what he said, called Dream a tyrant for nothing. Even during the Pogtopia arc, when Wilbur and Tommy were at their weakest, when Dream could have easily snuffed out the voices that had been his biggest critics, Dream remained neutral, even trying to stay on the side of the good guys and actively helping them from the shadows. He's not a villain because he does what he feels will benefit the server instead of doing what might benefit him. The fact that he was pitted against Wilbur, this silver-tongued orator who managed to convince even Dream himself, let alone the audience, that Dream was the villain, that, and only that, is why Dream is seen as the villain now. L'Manberg, as beloved as it was, as inspirational and revolutionary as it seemed, served the exact purpose it was meant for. It divided. L'Manberg divided the server, giving Wilbur that oh-so-precious power, and also a reason to use it, and Dream saw that, or at least partially did, and thus tried to put a stop to it, only resorting to more and more violence when peaceful negotiations failed. But, well, there is one part of Dream's character that isn't the best, and is the strongest argument for him actually being the villain he's made out to be. The TommyInnit exile arc. The entire exile arc as a whole was, to put it simply, not good. At all. Manipulation, gaslighting, and more, all for no really good purpose. During the exile arc, Dream the character did inexcusable things that can't be forgiven, no matter the motive. It is interesting to note that in spite of this, Wilbur still calls Dream his hero, despite knowing of the horrendous things that Dream has done, hell, even acknowledging those things in the same sentence. Wilbur still sees Dream as his hero. Which kinda gives you an insight into just how messed up Wilbur himself is, glossing over abuse and other horrific acts to quietly soothe his inner moral compass. There is also the prison arc, which in essence is a parallel to the exile arc in many ways. Isolation, mental deterioration, infrequent visits, except to more extreme lengths than what we've seen anyone, even Dream, go to before. This is why I wouldn't go as far as to call this payback. However, it's important to note that Dream hasn't only inflicted pain on others by his rashness, but that he's also been through hell himself. The destruction of New L'Manberg is up next, and I'm about to be real controversial here. Techno and Dream completely eradicating New L'Manberg was a good thing. Now wait, hold on, I know you're about to either click off or dislike the video or something, but seriously, hear me out, like the video, and hear me out for a second. New L'Manberg as a concept was great. A new, fresh start on a nation no longer corrupted by Wilbur's influence, pursuing the admittedly sturdy ideals that a not-so-sturdy leader had laid down in the past. What could go wrong, right? The thing is, the Dream SMP is full of characters who are just waiting to use Wilbur's tool to influence, take over, and corrupt it. L'Manberg had become more than the sum of its parts. There were people who would stick with the nation through everything because of just how well Wilbur crafted and sold his propaganda, meaning that when you control L'Manberg, you control everyone aligned with it. L'Manberg was already getting influenced by the likes of Quackity, who had learned from Wilbur that death, destruction, and force was the only way forward, and who manipulated Tubbo into forming the Butcher Army. As an army, they broke into Phil's house, who was completely uninvolved in any war conflict up until then, ransacked his home, stole his techno compass, and put him under house arrest. Then, they went and attacked the peaceful anarchist away in the Arctic because he was on Quackity's hit list, which Quackity's mentioned in, well, I'll just show you.
I want to bring this goddamn country to power, and the problem is, there is no power for us when fucking Dream is pulling all the strings. He is pulling all the goddamn strings, and I'm sick of it, Tubbo. I'm actually sick of it.
He then proceeded to hold Techno's horse hostage, kidnap the guy, promise him a fair trial which he would never get, after which they shoved him in a cage and dropped an anvil on his head. Dream and Techno destroying it was, as sad as it is, the best thing for the server. Let's be real here, Wilbur as a character is extremely smart and knows better than anyone about Dream, his motivations and his true nature, because Wilbur himself manipulated Dream's image. Wilbur as a content creator was the scriptwriter for the story, but Wilbur as a character was also the one who controlled the narrative of the SMP. He knows what Dream actually is like, and he seems to feel Dream is worthy of the title of hero. Of course, what Wilbur says about Dream is almost certainly not what he thinks, and even if he did, well, even then, calling him a hero wouldn't be completely correct. Look, is Dream a hero? No, not really. He's done bad things in the past, but he did them for the right reasons. That doesn't make him a hero, but it certainly doesn't make him a villain either. For example, he saved Wilbur from limbo, but he also hurt others in the process. Technically, is he Wilbur's hero? Sure, he is, but I wouldn't go so far as to call him the hero of the story. Hero and villain are, in the end, extremely restrictive terms, and Wilbur and Dream are incredible examples of this. Wilbur made L'Manberg, and that was probably a net positive for the server, a good thing for a lot of the characters involved, but he did it for power. He did good, but for a bad reason. Dream, on the other hand, tried to take control over the SMP and used force a lot of the time, but he did it for a good reason, to try and perpetuate peace and unity, and to bring life on the SMP back to what it once was, instead of the incessantly war-ridden battlefield it is now. He did bad for a good reason. And that's my take on whether or not Dream is the hero of the Dream SMP. Watch this video about how Dream will break out of prison next. Subscribe!